What's going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our Week 6 Team Builder versus King Bub, coach of the Munchlaxter United. His YouTube link will be in the description below, so definitely check him out. The team that we are going to be facing this week consists of, and it will be popping up on screen now, Mega Gallade, Skarmory, Crocodile, Rotom Wash, Infernape, Whimsicott, Dragalge, Sceptile, and Escavalier. On his bench that he cannot bring is Dusknoir, Braviary, and Uxie. So this is a very well-constructed team. Mega Gallade paired with Skarmory is really good. Stop birds and other things that Mega Gallade doesn't like. Crocodile is scary with the Intimidate or Scarf Moxie. Knockoff and Earthquake is very good for my team. Rotom Wash can be very obnoxious. I have very little for that. Infernape is always a threat. Whimsicott, I know how dangerous that can be. The Escavalier is a pretty hard stop to my Cresselia. Dragalge is a monster in its own right. Draco Meteor hurts really badly. But regardless, I think I've built a team of 6 that will be able to take on whatever team of 6 he decides to bring. So let us get into that now. As you can see, we're starting off with our Kyurem Black. We have Ice Beam, Dragon Claw, Earth Power, and Hidden Fire. 4 attacks, Expert Belt. Like I said in multiple previous weeks, it's becoming one of my favorite sets to bring throughout the season. It just hits things so hard. There's very little opposing teams can do about it. Ice Beam is to Oko the Crocodile. The Whimsicott can deal massive damage to the Dragalge, almost knocking it out. Knocks out the Sceptile. Hidden Power Fire is an easy 2 KO on AV Escavalier. Earth Power is an easy 2 KO on Spadef Rotom Wash. I believe as long as it's a max HP Rotom Wash, it'll live 1 Earth Power, but I have a chance to knock it out after rocks, and it obviously can't do much to me. And then Dragon Claw is just to hit something like the Mega Gallade a little bit harder for an easy 2 KO. Ice Beam's not a guaranteed 2 KO. Dragon Claw is, even with the no attack investment. Also, Dragon Claw is a guaranteed Oko on Dragalge, no matter its spread. So that is very nice there. So relatively standard. The speed is enough to outspeed a Jolly Crocodile on his side. So I outspeed a good portion of his team, bar something like the Mega Gallade or the Whimsicott or even the Sceptile, but only Whimsicott and Mega Gallade can Oko me, but I do have very good responses to those that I'll get into a bit. Wanted to run a Fusion Bolt as well for Skarmory, but Expert Belt boosted Hidden Power Fire should be a 2 KO, and if not, I do have other ways to deal with it that I will get into in a bit. So next up on the list, we are bringing our Cresselia with a Rocky Helmet, 3 attacks, Moonlight, Psyshock, Moonblast, Hidden Power Fire, and Moonlight, with physically defensive spread, a little bit of speed. Rocky Helmet is meant to take on the Mega Gallade as best as possible. Don't need a Colbur Berry in order to take that thing on. Knockoff still does not do a lot of damage to me. I'm a very good switch into the Dragalge, cannot 2 KO me with anything. Even Draco Meteor will not be able to 2 KO me, with the drop of course. Psyshock is to hit the Mega Gallade, as well as Moonblast. Psyshock, I believe, actually does a little bit more because it's a little bit frailer on the physical side, and this is Stab. Moonblast do hit the Crocodile, as well as, well, really just the Crocodile, and I wanted something to hit that on the switch in. Hidden Power Fire, of course, for the Escavalier. Essentially, the move coverage hits his entire team neutrally or super effectively, which is very nice because I will be able to take hits, dish out a little bit of damage. A lot of his team doesn't have recovery or reliable recovery. Like, I think Skarmory is really the only thing with reliable recovery, and I do have ways to deal with that. And as you can see, I have Magneton to trap it, which I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, this is the Cresselia. Can 3 a KO and assault that's Escavalier with Hidden Power Fire, which is very nice. That is good damage I like to have. So yeah, that is Cresselia. Next up, like I said, we were bringing our Trapper in Magneton with Magnet Pull. Now, I'm like 117% sure if he brings Skarmory, he's bringing a Shed Shell variant, because there's no way he's letting his Magneton, or there's no way he's letting my Magneton trap it. So that is the big reason why I have the Magnet Rise on there. I can stay in versus Skarmory, predict the switch out into something like Crocodile that I would expect him to go into on my Magneton, predicting a Thunderbolt, and I can go for Magnet Rise, and then I can just fire off Flash Cannons, because at that point, I don't believe he can 2 a KO. I don't believe he can 2 a KO me with much, bar like Banded Knockoff, or maybe Dreadplate boosted Knockoff, or Black Glasses if you're a real man. But again, Magnet Rise prevents him from going for Earthquake, which is very nice. I can also just fire off a Flash Cannon on that thing, predicting Crocodile to come in, get some damage off on it, and then switch out into something like my Gligar, my Blastoise, my Virizion later on. So this is definitely a very big threat to his team. Aside from that, it also traps the Escavalier, and I have Hidden Power Fire to 2 a KO that with. Can Volt Switch out on the Dragalge, I can Volt Switch out on the Rotom, I can Flash Cannon the Whimsicott. I wanted to be Scarfed, but like I said, I didn't want to be locked into an electric move as he switches out his Shed Shell Skarm into Crocodile. So that is why we are running Eviolite, also just give us a little bit more bulk, I can take hits a little bit better. So yeah, that is our Magneton. Next, let's move on now to our Mega Blastoise. We're running a modest offensive, kind of speedy Blastoise with Scald, Ice Beam, Toxic, and Rapid Spin. Toxic is to hit something like the Rotom Wash. I can't get good damage off on it with Dark Pulse, but I would rather status that in combination with something like, really just for that, and I suppose it's an easier prediction to make. Like, I don't want a Dark Pulse and incoming Whimsicott, for example. I would rather just have a Toxic off on that. I would even be fine with Toxicking something like a Sceptile, which would be nice. Ice Beam, Scald and Ice Beam are really the only two covered moves I need, and even if he does switch his Rotom in on a Scald, it's still Scald and it has a good chance to burn. So yeah, not too much else to go over there. I also have my Virizion that can deal with it, so relatively standard Mega Blastoise. The speed investment I have, I believe, if I remember this correctly, is enough to outspeed Bulky Crocodile as well as uninvested Rotom, and I can deal with those things respectively. I can also take on the Mega Gallade decently. I can take a close combat relatively well and hit it with a Scald, and at -1 Speed F it'll do a lot of damage. So Mega Blastoise is a very big threat to his team, and I feel like it's going to put in a lot of work. He's got stuff like Skarmory that gives me a free switch in. I deal with the Crocodile relatively well. Infernape cannot knock me out even with like Life Orb, Expert Belt, or Expert Belt boosted Grass Knot. Dragalge can't OHKO me unless it specs, and even then I outspeed it, can get an Ice Beam off. I deal with the Escavalier, I can Scald that, so it's just a very good mon for his team, and I'm happy to have it. Next up is our Eviolite Gligar. We are running dual Eviolite on this team, as you can see. Although this Eviolite I'm not expecting to stay on very long, because this is pretty much my only switch into something like the Crocodile, or even Infernape if it doesn't have HP Ice, kind of the Sceptile. Also, it's my only switch into a Escavalier. Most of those things get knockoff, so I'm kind of expecting this thing to just get knocked off pretty soon, which I'm okay with, because even without the Eviolite, I still take hits relatively well. We are running Immunity, which we can do as long as we are not running Defog. That's going to be nice for things that have Toxic. Not entirely sure what would, but it's definitely possible. He could bring Toxic on, I don't know, like Crocodile, I suppose, to hit something like Gligar. This is not the time for an update, thank you very much. Like, maybe even like Mega Gallade to hit my Cresselia, something like that, so Immunity is going to be nice. Granted, obviously Gallade gets Ice Punch, but I actually can take an Ice Punch from Gallade with the Eviolite, and I have a good chance to take one without the Eviolite as well, because Gligar has very good natural bulk, and I'm looking to abuse that this game as well, so definitely a good bulky pivot, Earthquake U-turn, Rocks, and Roost to keep myself healthy. Definitely a very good mon for his team. Is OHKO'd by pretty much nothing on his team, unless he has, like, Specs Draco Meteor on Dragalge. That can OHKO me, but I will be able to outspeed it and hit it with an Earthquake very hard. So that is our Gligar. Let us now move on to the last member of our team in Virizion. We are bringing a Subs SD Virizion. This is meant to deal with a couple different things. I can probably set up an SD or a sub on the Crocodile, assuming it does not have Aerial Ace and it is Scarfed, otherwise I will be able to threaten that out immediately. I can set up on pretty much anything Rotom wants to do unless it has Hidden Power Flying, and even if it does, I will be able to outspeed it and hit it with a Leaf Blade. I Speed Tie with Infernape, which is nice because I can OHKO it with Close Combat after Stealth Rock. Sceptile I take on very well unless he is like SD Acrobatics or something like that. Whimsicott cannot OHKO me, and I can at least get a little bit of damage off on that, not that I would want to stay in versus it. And +2 Close Combat does about 60% to Skarmory. If he is maybe low, I can knock it out with a +2 Close Combat, which is nice. But overall, this is just a very solid Pokemon versus this team. Deals with the Rotom Wash, which my team struggles with a little bit. I, of course, do have the Kyurem, but that does not have Natural Recovery, and I am naive. Cresselia can't do too much to it back. Like, Rotom Wash is just a bit of an issue for this team, but Virizion really helps me out with that, gives me a very safe switch into it. Obviously, he could have the Will-O-Wisp, but I still will be able to set up an SD, get back to neutral. I can also sub on a possible Will-O-Wisp, so yeah, that is our Virizion. I hope you guys enjoyed this team builder. I think it was a little bit quicker than my other team builders, but I think the concepts are relatively straightforward. I've used X Repel Kyurem, 3 attacks, Moonlight, Cresselia, Magnet Rise, trapping Magneton. Magnet Rise on this, I don't think I mentioned this, is also to trap and then dodge the drill runs of Scavalier, which is very nice, because I don't think he'd bring dual Shed Shell. I think he'd want to solve that to take hidden Power Fires and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to cover for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the match.